Hey everyone, Nigel and Luke here, and welcome to Crime Zone. Before we get into today's video, we've actually got a bit of a favor to ask all of you. If you're a regular viewer of the channel, then you're probably no stranger to the fact that we've had issues with our videos on YouTube in the past regarding uploads, comment sections getting disabled, etc. Well, this week, unfortunately, we're dealing with a bigger issue, and it's one that threatens the very existence of our channel. As some of you may have noticed, last week's Crimes of the Week International video, the one covering the week of June 10th, 2022, is no longer available to watch. This is because the video was forcibly taken down after being manually flagged for copyright by a massive media company. As a result, our channel was issued a strike. Though we believe that this was either done in error or was the result of fraud, as we generally are very careful about following copyright rules, if you're at all familiar with YouTube's copyright claim system, you might know that in circumstances like these, odds are almost always stacked against creators like us and towards massive corporations. In this case, YouTube is actually refusing to tell us even what the disputed content in the video is, claiming that it's our job to try and fight the claim, despite the fact that we don't even know what content is actually being flagged. As a result, we also have no way of knowing what might get us flagged in future videos. And if we do get any more strikes, our channel is in jeopardy of getting permanently deleted. As a result, we ask that if you value the content we put out and would like to give us a hand, to please follow us on any other social media channels that you might use. We know that we normally don't push our Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, or Instagram accounts during our videos, but it's become clear that maintaining a presence on these other platforms is now necessary if the worst should happen. At the very least, it will allow us to keep you all updated about what's going on. Anyway, we will also include links in the description below. Apologies for being so long-winded in an intro like this, but it's been a truly frustrating process trying to navigate this whole situation while being repeatedly stonewalled by YouTube. Anyway, we appreciate your continued support, and with that out of the way, let's get to the video. Authorities in Martin County, Florida say that a man survived a harrowing 2-day kidnapping this week after 3 men forced him to get behind the wheel of a vehicle during the ordeal, and he drove badly on purpose to attract the attention of police. According to reports, the incident began sometime at the beginning of last week, when the 3 suspects showed up at the victim's home in Port St. Lucie. While the victim has not been identified by name, reports state that he runs a dog breeding business and had recently posted about his financial success online. This had attracted the attention of the suspects, who decided to pay him a visit. After posing as interested dog buyers, authorities say that 22-year-old Tezdekiel Sellers, 25-year-old Benjavine Radcliffe, and 22-year-old Kashavia Bragdon went to the victim's home and proceeded to kidnap and assault him. They also demanded that the man hand over the cash he had talked about making from his dog breeding business. For the next 2 days, the victim was allegedly held captive by the 3 suspects and was taken to multiple locations where the robbery and assaults continued. That was until the criminals reportedly made a critical mistake and forced the victim to get behind the wheel of his own vehicle. While on the road, the suspects told the victim to drive to a location that took them through Martin County, where it just so happened officers from the local sheriff's department were patrolling as part of their traveling criminal response team. It was then that the victim got an idea. Knowing that he needed to get the attention of police, the victim began driving erratically, committing multiple traffic infractions, hoping that officers would notice. Sure enough, one officer did, and proceeded to pull him over. Much to the victim's horror, however, after approaching the vehicle and briefly talking to him, the officer decided that he would graciously let him off with a warning. Too afraid to say anything in front of his captors, as the officer started to walk away, the man began to make hand motions, signaling that something was going on. Thankfully, the police officer noticed, told the victim to get out of the car, and he was able to explain the whole situation. The Martin County Sheriff's deputy called in backup, and all 3 of the suspects were subsequently arrested. Inside the vehicle, authorities found guns, knives, and a large amount of cash. According to reports, Sellers, Radcliffe, and Bragdon are all now facing a laundry list of charges in connection with the incident, including carrying a concealed firearm, aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, kidnapping to commit or facilitate the commission of a felony, home invasion, and providing a false name. A 30-year-old alleged thief reportedly got more than he bargained for this week when he attacked a 7-Eleven employee and was taken down by a man with more than 2 decades of martial arts training who happened to witness the heated confrontation. According to reports, the incident took place sometime on June 16th, when a man named Idris Rejovic went to buy a couple of Slurpees for his kids at a 7-Eleven store in Chicago's Lincoln Park neighborhood. As he walked up to the location, he noticed a man, later identified as 30-year-old Christopher Cruz, who appeared to be harassing a group of people outside. When Cruz noticed that Idris was witnessing the harassment, he reportedly turned to him aggressively and asked him what he was looking at. Idris stood his ground and did not engage, but continued to keep an eye on Cruz. When Cruz walked into the 7-Eleven, it apparently initially seemed like things were over. However, once inside the convenience store, Cruz began to act aggressively once again, when he was asked to leave by one of the store's 19-year-old employees. According to the employee, Cruz had been in there earlier that day and had been caught stealing. When confronted by the employee, Cruz allegedly punched him in the head. That's when Idris sprung into action. You see, unbeknownst to Cruz at the time, Idris is a third-degree black belt in Brazilian Jiu-jitsu, and has been studying the martial art for 22 years. As soon as Idris saw the confrontation between Cruz and the employee turn violent, he jumped into the situation and put his training into action, taking the 30-year-old to the ground and, in his own words, quote, flattening him like a pancake and tying him up like a pretzel in a position called gift wrap or twisting arm control. Though Cruz quickly realized he was outmatched and reportedly pleaded with Idris to let him go, the black belt denied, pinning him down for 18 minutes until police arrived. Cruz was then taken into custody and charged with 2 counts of retail theft and battery. If you're impressed with Idris's skills, apparently he runs a facility of his own called the Supreme Academy of Jiu-Jitsu, where he teaches students as young as 5 years old. The business is located in Lincoln Park, close to where the incident at 7-Eleven took place. Authorities in Cape Girardeau, Missouri say that the search for a missing 21-year-old woman has come to a tragic end this week after her remains were found buried in a barn nearly a month after her disappearance was reported to police. According to reports, 21-year-old Jessie Wilfong was last seen alive on May 19th, when she was allegedly at her uncle's house in the community of Millersville. She was reported missing to police 6 days later by her mother after family members were unable to get a hold of her. When investigators began to dig deeper into Jessie's last interaction with her uncle, Lawrence Shanda, they learned that it had not been pleasant. The two had apparently argued after Shanda accused Jessie of implicating him in drug activity to law enforcement. Understandably, this is when greater suspicion began to be placed on Shanda and his live-in girlfriend, 59-year-old Teresa Baumgartner. On June 15th, police obtained a search warrant for Shanda and Baumgartner's Millersville property and reportedly uncovered evidence of foul play linked to the investigation. 3 days later, officers returned to the residence and searched a barn that was also on the property. Inside, they found a recently disturbed area of ground which was found to contain a human body. Less than a week later, these remains were confirmed to be those of Jessie Wilfong. Her cause of death was ruled to be a homicide. Despite the massive break in the case, it appears that at the current time, police are still very much in the early stages of their investigation. While Baumgartner has been arrested on charges of evidence tampering, Shanda remains free. However, authorities say that they expect to bring more charges soon against one or more individuals. At the time of this recording, the situation is still developing. Representatives from the FBI say that they have officially joined the case of a missing 19-year-old farmer this week who disappeared without a trace from his property in an isolated area of Utah. According to reports, 19-year-old Dylan Rounds was last heard from by his family on May 28th. That morning, he spoke to his grandmother on the phone, telling her that it had started to rain and that he needed to put his grain truck in the shed. Dylan, who was originally from eastern Idaho, had purchased some land in the town of Lucin, Utah after graduating high school, and had reportedly spent the last several months farming on the property by himself. For reference, Lucin is a very rural town located in Utah's northwest, close to the border with Nevada. Many sources refer to the community as a ghost town, mentioning that it is quite isolated and is surrounded by old mine shafts, caves, and tunnels. When Dylan's parents failed to hear from him following the phone call with his grandmother, they began to grow concerned, and in the next day or two traveled to his property in Lucin to look for him. There was no sign of him anywhere, though a couple of suspicious details stood out. For starters, according to the parents, despite telling his grandmother that he was putting his grain truck in the shed, the vehicle was found parked a ways away from where it was supposed to be. About 100 yards away from there, they found Dylan's boots, which appeared to have been abandoned. The 19-year-old's mother states that there was a dark stain on one of the boots that appeared to be blood. Even more mysterious was Dylan's truck, a 2015 Ford F-150. Though the tires were covered in mud, the rest of the vehicle appeared to have been recently cleaned, as if with a pressure washer. There were also allegedly no tracks leading to or from the vehicle, despite the recent rain. Inside the truck, Dylan's mother claims that someone had tried to initiate the vehicle's four-wheel drive system. She thought this was suspicious since the system was broken, and Dylan knew this. Furthermore, the driver's seat had allegedly been adjusted as if someone much shorter than Dylan had last been behind the wheel. Finally, Dylan's family members say that a few days before his disappearance, he told them about a bizarre run-in that he had had with a stranger on a country road. Apparently, the man was walking down the gravel road barefoot and flagged the teenager down, asking to use his phone and requesting a ride. Dylan declined to offer the man a ride and said that he was acting erratically. He also said he suspected the man was under the influence of drugs. While Dylan's family now believe that foul play may have been involved in his disappearance, authorities say that they are still considering all possibilities and have neither been able to confirm or rule this theory out. Frustratingly, it appears that there are very few leads to go on in the investigation, as police say that they are not receiving virtually anything in the way of witness sightings or tips from residents in the area. At the current time, weeks' worth of searches have also come up empty-handed. Though Dylan's family and police have requested help from the public for any information they might have, they are also advising people to be wary of fake GoFundMe campaigns and other pages that have been created by people to apparently take advantage of the situation. Dylan's parents say that they are not asking for financial assistance and have actually put up a $20,000 reward of their own for information that leads to finding their son. At the time of this recording, the situation is still developing. Authorities in Osage County, Oklahoma say that a local fast food employee has been arrested and is facing charges this week after he unwittingly provided a customer with literal speed rather than speedy service. According to reports, the incident began sometime on June 20th when a man in the city of Skiatook went to a local Carl's Jr. restaurant and placed an order. After receiving his food, the customer was absent-mindedly unpacking it while on a video call with his girlfriend when he encountered something unexpected, a small baggie with a crystalline substance in it. Though the man apparently did not immediately recognize what he had, he was pretty sure it wasn't extra table salt, and soon after went to the restaurant's manager. The manager replaced the food, but the customer still wasn't quite satisfied, so he went to the local police station with some photos he had taken of the unexpected addition to his meal. When officers saw the photos, they were pretty sure it was methamphetamine. A short time later, police went to the Carl's Jr. restaurant to investigate and were able to confiscate the baggie that they had seen in the customer's pictures. Sure enough, when tests were conducted, they came back positive for meth. The employee allegedly in possession of the drugs, later identified as a man named Bryce Francis, was arrested. According to reports, Francis is now facing charges of possession of a controlled substance, as well as distribution of a controlled substance within 2,000 feet of a school, since the Carls Jr. is right near Skiatook High School. While it's often said that parents will do anything for their kids, we're guessing that most normal folks would stop short of fighting the police with construction equipment to prevent a lawful arrest. As officers with the Vermont State Police found out this week, however, this was not the case for one couple from Caledonia County. According to reports, the whole situation began on the evening of June 14th, when Vermont State Police were investigating a suspected aggravated assault and burglary case. At around 7 p.m. that day, officers were confident that they had located the suspect, a man whose name has not been released, at a property in the town of Hardwick. However, when they attempted to place the man under arrest, all hell broke loose. Not only did troopers have to contend with the suspect resisting arrest, but as they soon learned, his parents, Wayne and Amy Tallman, were also eager to get in on the action. Amy reportedly ran at the officers as they were in the middle of the scuffle with her son, while Wayne got behind the controls of an excavator and proceeded to recklessly maneuver its bucket. At multiple points, he was caught on police dash cam lowering the excavator bucket towards the troopers' patrol vehicle, as well as the troopers themselves. Fortunately, the officers were eventually able to get the ridiculous situation under control, and all 3 family members were placed under arrest. While little information is currently available about the unidentified suspect who started the whole thing, according to reports, his mother Amy was issued a citation for impeding an officer, while his father Wayne was taken into custody on charges of aggravated assault on a protected official, resisting arrest, impeding, and reckless endangerment. Thankfully, it appears that neither of the state troopers involved in the incident were seriously hurt, though it's easy to see how things could have turned out much differently. Speaking about the bizarre circumstances after the fact, a commander with the Vermont State Police noted, quote, "They don't have a scenario at the academy where we practice this one." Representatives from the NYPD say that a 24-year-old woman was recently rescued from a violent and terrifying hostage situation after she cleverly reached out for help through a Grubhub delivery order. According to reports, the situation began sometime either late on June 18th or early on June 19th, when the 24-year-old victim agreed to meet up with a man that she had met through a dating app. That man, later identified as 32-year-old Kemoy Royal, allegedly proceeded to kidnap her, assaulting her repeatedly at his home in the Bronx. The woman's terrifying ordeal apparently lasted for hours, until finally, Royal allowed the 24-year-old to order some food. Using the food delivery app Grubhub, the woman seized her opportunity, writing a plea for help in the additional information section of her order. That message was received by employees of the Chipper Truck, a restaurant in Yonkers. Though the employees were initially unsure what to do about the message because it was hastily written and apparently a bit hard for them to understand, they decided that the mention of calling the police was too serious to ignore and decided to contact authorities. When police showed up, they were able to rescue the 24-year-old victim, placing Royal under arrest. According to reports, Royal is now facing numerous charges, including strangulation, menacing, assault, criminal possession of a weapon, and unlawful imprisonment. Authorities in Maricopa County, Arizona say that a 60-year-old food delivery driver helped police catch her own killer this week after a photo was discovered on her cell phone that led them right to the suspect. According to reports, the case began just before 7:30 p.m. on June 11th, when police in the city of Glendale responded to a report about a vehicle that had driven off the road and into a landscaping area. When officers arrived at the scene, they discovered 60-year-old Pamela Ray Martinez inside the vehicle. She had been shot and was non-responsive, and sadly, was pronounced dead at the scene. At the time of her death, she had been on her last delivery of the day while working for the food delivery app Uber Eats. When investigators spoke to witnesses that had seen Pamela's vehicle prior to the shooting, they were told that before driving her vehicle where it had been found, Pamela had been parked at the side of the road next to a white van. Some of these witnesses reported seeing a man outside of Pamela's vehicle who walked back to the van and drove away. This happened right before she began driving off the road. Though these witness statements were helpful, it was ultimately evidence collected by Pamela herself that would reportedly blow the case wide open. On her phone, right before the murder, the 60-year-old had taken a photo of the mysterious man in the white van that was parked next to her. Using that image, police were able to identify the man as 62-year-old Rusty French. When French was questioned about Pamela's death and shown the picture of him that she had taken, he admitted that it was him, but offered a bizarre excuse. He said that he must have blacked out and couldn't remember what had occurred. Police didn't buy this explanation, however, and after obtaining a search warrant for French's property, were able to find a handgun that they say was a ballistic match to the one that had been used to kill Pamela. In reports we came across, police also alluded to having other evidence against French, though did not elaborate. Much of the circumstances surrounding the crime still currently remain a mystery, as it's believed that French and Pamela did not know each other and that she was not delivering him food at the time of the killing. French was arrested on June 23rd and has now been charged with second-degree murder. That's it for this edition of Crimes of the Week. If you enjoyed our video, don't forget to like and subscribe to Crime Zone for more true crime content like this, making sure to hit the notification bell to stay up to date with our latest releases. Thank you for watching.